Lord, Russell Crowe, Keith Urban, and Sir Edmund Hillary all come from this island country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. They're nearing 5 million inhabitants, and for each person living in New Zealand, there are 9 sheep. Home to Lord of the Rings and the first ever Elvish weather report. Let's see what else this exquisite country has got right. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Number 1. Jacinda Ardern, the 40th Prime Minister of New Zealand. Hey Luxers, we're starting off with the best. Jacinda Ardern, the kick-ass PM of New Zealand, is trending for all the right reasons. She became the youngest Prime Minister New Zealand has had in 150 years when she stepped up to the mammoth task in 2017 at the age of 37. She wears 2 hats, Mum and PM, and Kiwis couldn't be more proud. Her list of achievements in such a short space of time are commendable. We'll highlight several of them throughout the video, but we'd need a few videos to expand on all of them. So let's begin with state housing. Number 2. Exponential increase in state houses. Just a few months into Jacinda Ardern's new role, New Zealand's state housing list saw a surge of 26%, which was the largest increase New Zealand had encountered in 4 years. The Housing Quarterly Report and Housing Regional Fact Sheet reported there were 7,890 households needing public housing and 1,805 on the waiting list to be transferred from their existing public house. In 2020, Ardern announced a $300 million boost to assist the homeless in securing better accommodations. The plan included 1,000 additional places for the homeless, which would be delivered by the end of the year. Ardern is quoted as saying, "The previous government left us with a chronic shortage of houses, and we're selling off state houses that people desperately needed. And now Ardern is working on fixing the current situation and putting preventative measures in place for the future." Number 3. Incredible job creation. COVID-19 has affected everyone around the world, but some countries have managed to ride the storm a bit better than others. We'll explain how New Zealand has managed to keep the virus under control shortly. But despite these trying times, New Zealand has solid plans in place to create jobs and minimize the blow of job losses. The wage subsidy scheme was introduced to keep as many people back at work as possible, which so far has paid out roughly $10.7 billion and sustained around 1.7 million jobs. Currently, the unemployment rate is 4.2%, and there are several plans in place to create employment over the next few years. These include a $162 million plan for cleaner waterways, creating 2,000 jobs in the process, $3 billion toward infrastructure and construction sector jobs, which will be helping to create the housing we mentioned earlier. Number 4. Very little unemployment. Job creation and unemployment go hand in hand, and it's hard to separate the current job market from COVID-19. Compared to other countries, New Zealand has lost far fewer jobs and have good plans in place to weather the storm, as we've highlighted in our previous point. Only 2,500 jobs were cut by the workforce during COVID, and Ardern has said that the low joblessness shows New Zealand survived COVID-19 better than anticipated. Economist Brad Olson agreed when he said he was quite surprised at how low the unemployment figures were during this time. Number 5. At the forefront of cancer treatment. Just a few months ago, $25 million was spent on 12 new radiation machines. These machines provide treatment specific to a patient's needs and deliver external beam radiation treatment. These machines would ensure that cancer treatment was improved and that recovery times would be faster. In Ardern's words, "We know for some lung cancers, newer technology can reduce treatment times from as much as 6 weeks to as little as 3 days. It can also mean improved life expectancy when every day is precious." Aluxers, we all know someone who has been diagnosed with some form of cancer, or you might even have it yourself. Can you imagine the treatment changing from 6 weeks to just a few days? It sounds surreal. The $25 million spent was just a tiny portion of the $1.7 billion that has been set aside for health services, which can only mean more great things to come. Number 6. Mental health is a priority. Glenn Close once said, "What mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, more unashamed conversations," and a truer word could never be said. New Zealand, along with Jacinda Ardern, are at the forefront of mental health issues. They take it seriously and are unashamed to have the conversation. Ardern has introduced the world's first well-being budget, which promises to invest billions in the care of the vulnerable. This well-being budget has been praised around the world, and $500 million of that budget was set aside for the missing middle, those that suffer from mild to moderate anxiety and depression. PM Jacinda Ardern confirmed that mental health issues for her were deeply personal, and the fact that New Zealanders can see their GP or health centre for mental health support is an incredible step in the right direction. Number 7. Free public toilets. Aluxers, don't underestimate the power of a free pee. If you've traveled a lot, you'd know the following encounters. No public bathrooms anywhere, public bathrooms that charge you an arm and a leg to use, or free public bathrooms that are so disgusting you'd rather squat on the side of the street. But not in New Zealand. The majority of restrooms are free to use, and they're readily available wherever you travel. If you want to have a whiz in what could possibly be the best loo in New Zealand, head to Dunedin. Waitati's new public toilet has been nicknamed the Tortoise by locals, as it boasts a gorgeous mural on the side painted by local artist Angela Lyon. Number 8. Respectable minimum wage. One of the many changes that Jacinda Ardern has put into place was an increase in minimum wage. In 2020, the minimum wage was increased to $18.90 an hour, up $1.20 from the previous $17.70. The changes were implemented due to the economy doing quite well and the need for everyone across the board to benefit. For someone like Lavinia Kafoa, a security guard in New Zealand, the increase has made the world of a difference. Fair pay agreements would put a stop to business and companies staying competitive by paying insignificant salaries. There was criticism over the decision, which came into force during COVID, with many employers stating it was the wrong time to do it. However, government went ahead stating the money would be pumped back into the economy. It also added that generally undervalued jobs like cashiers were the ones on the front line of COVID, and it was imperative to show their value. As Ardern said, "We've all seen the importance of the people working on our front line, whether they're cleaners, whether they collect waste, or whether they're working at a supermarket." Number 9. Phenomenal handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. New Zealand has had one of the most effective responses to COVID, and although there have been a few more cases in the last week, they're miles behind other countries. New Zealand had 1,729 cases on writing this script, with a mere 22 deaths and 1,570 recoveries. New Zealand didn't mess around when it came to lockdown. They shut up shop in March, closing borders to international travelers and allowing locals to come home to quarantine for 14 days. Everyone knew what was going on. The message was relayed quickly and effectively, with all residents receiving text messages and regular updates. Testing capacity was one of the highest in the world, and they followed all the rules properly. Now, we can't dispute that being so far away from the rest of the world was a huge help. Recent research has released reports claiming that female-led countries handled the pandemic far better than those with male counterparts, and highlighted New Zealand, Germany, Denmark, Taiwan, Iceland, and Finland. Male-led countries like Spain, the UK, the US, Italy, and Brazil have some of the highest death tolls in the world. That's not to say that some male-led countries haven't done well. Greece and the Czech Republic have also had low death rates, but the figures speak for themselves overall, and women-led countries are faring much better than male-led ones. Number 10. Banned single-use plastic bags. In 2019, New Zealand banned the use of single-use plastic bags and introduced hefty fines for any business caught dispensing them. The law states that reusable bags must be provided. Plastic pollution kills millions of animals every year, and the ecological, economic, and ecotoxicological effects are long-term. Entanglement, ingestion, or starvation affects animals, and the buildup of pollutants like PCBs or DDT is extremely concerning. Since the single-use plastic ban, New Zealand has saved the planet from 1.1 billion plastic bags landing up in landfills or the ocean. To learn some more about this, make sure to watch our video, 15 Things You Didn't Know About the Plastics Industry. Number 11. Banned military-style semi-automatic rifles. After the Christchurch massacre in March 2020, New Zealand banned most semi-automatic weapons. The massacre saw 51 people being killed, all while being filmed live on Facebook. A few weeks after this horrific incident, Parliament voted to ban the weapons. Of 120 Parliament lawmakers, all but one voted in favor of the decision. New Zealand introduced a buyback scheme, whereby gun owners could sell their weapons without penalty before the deadline was implemented. Those that did not abide by the law could face 5 years in prison. More than 56,000 firearms were collected, which lined up with government expectations. Number 12. Banned smoking in cars with children. Another thing that New Zealand got right was to ban smoking in vehicles when there are children inside the car. When the bill was passed in May of 2020, all parties were in favor of it. Within 18 months, police can enforce a $50 fine on anyone caught doing this. Secondhand smoke leads to all kinds of respiratory problems, and children are most vulnerable as the damage caused can affect them for the rest of their lives. Associate Health Minister Jenny Salesa said, "Our government wants to make New Zealand the best place in the world to be a child. We're making progress toward that goal by putting the interests of kids first." Number 13. Lifted the cap on gender reassignment surgeries. If anyone was hoping to have a gender reassignment surgery in New Zealand, there would be a 30 to 50-year waiting period. In the past, publicly funded surgeries only allowed for 3 male-to-female surgeries and 1 female-to-male surgeries every 2 years. Hey Luxers, that's nothing. Since 2018, the policy has seen a complete reversal, with no cap on the number of surgeries performed, and the previous caps will, quote, become a minimum number of surgeries every 2 years. Surgery prices remain high, and there isn't always the right skills to perform these life-changing operations. But this decision is a step in the right direction and will change so many people's lives for the better. Number 14. Microbeads are illegal. Microbeads are small plastic particles less than 1 millimeter at their largest and are found in face scrubs, toothpastes, and some body washes. They can also be hidden in eyeliners, lipsticks, nail polish, and deodorants. The damage caused by microbeads can have long-lasting effects on marine life and our health. Microbeads can absorb toxins, which are then transferred up the marine food chain and into our diets. Research suggests we unwittingly eat 5 grams of plastic a week. That's about the weight of a credit card. Yikes! Since 2018, products containing microbeads has been banned. Instead, products using biodegradable particles are encouraged, like pumice and ground nutshells. Number 15. Supportive of LGBT rights. Jacinda Ardern became the first New Zealand Prime Minister to walk in a gay pride parade. She used this historic moment to show support for the LGBTQI community and to fully support LGBTQI children with mental health issues. Ardern left her Mormon religion and had this to say about her own transition. "For a lot of years, I put it to the back of my mind. I think it was too unsettling. I lived in a flat with 3 gay friends, and I remember going to church and thinking, I'm either doing a disservice to the church or my friends. How could I subscribe to a religion that didn't account for them?" Currently, there is controversy surrounding the banning of conversion therapy, which has already been implemented in Germany and soon to be implemented in Canada. But as Ardern says, know us by our deeds. Over decades now, the rainbow community knows our record, and on that record, I stand very proudly. Well, Aluxers, what do you believe New Zealand has gotten right that other countries haven't quite nailed yet? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. And for sticking with us until the end, here's your bonus. The best thing about the Kiwis is they have a practical, can-do spirit, which should be an example for the rest of the world. They're practical people and cope well with whatever life throws their way. They don't complain or whine and are just proud of their heritage. We're not saying that racism doesn't exist. It does. They're just motivated to eradicate it. Aluxers, a beautiful New Zealand proverb to wrap up today's video is, "Ask me what is the greatest thing in the world, and I will reply, it is people, it is people, it is people." Remember to subscribe, Aluxers, for more daily videos, and as always, we appreciate your thumbs up.